Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We have a double Torah portion this Shabbat, Nitzavim and Vayelech. Nitzavim means to stand, to be where you are, to stand straight like that, something you do a lot when you go for an army service. Vayelech means the opposite, to go, to walk, to be on the way, to be evolving, to be going ahead. Just like the Hebrew word for Jewish law and Jewish tradition, halacha, to keep evolving. Our Torah portion is saying to us a week before Rosh Hashanah, just before the threshold of the new year, that we have to be in those two dispositions. We have to stand where we believe. We have to stick to our tradition, to our values, to our hopes, to our faith, but at the same time, the world is moving so fast, the world is changing so fast that you have to adapt, you have to evolve. Just doing what we're doing now, having services with your beautiful pictures here, smiling at me, but not you here, but you virtually here, is such an evolution, such a change. But at the same time, we read from the Torah, we stand with what is important to us, the teachings of our ancestors, the teaching of our God. In our Torah portion, the last covenant between God and the people of Israel is created. This is almost the end of the Torah. And this is the last covenant that Moses and God and the people of Israel are entering into just before the end of the Torah. And right after the covenant, there is a beautiful message about the covenant, about what it means to fulfill that covenant, about what those mitzvot, those commandments are all about and where they are, and who is it up to fulfill this covenant. So we're going to say the blessing before reading from the Torah, and then we're going to read from verse 12 in chapter 30 in our Torah portion. But first we'll go to page 250 in our prayer books to read from, to chant together the Torah blessing, please. Baruch et Adonai Hamvorak, Baruch Adonai Hamvorak leolam vaed, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, venatan lanu et torato, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. כי המצווה הזאת אשר אנוכי מצווך היום לא נפלט היא ממך ולא רחוקה היא, לא בשמיים היא לאמור מי יעלה לנו השמיימה ויקחיה לנו וישמיענו אותה ונעשנה, ולא מעבר לים היא לאמור מי יעבור לנו אל עבר הים ויקחה לנו וישמיענו אותה ונעשנה, כי קרוב אליך הדבר מאוד, בפיך ובלבבך לעשותו. ראה נתתי לפניך היום את החיים ואת הטוב, ואת המוות ואת הרע, אשר אנוכי מצווך היום, לאהבה את אדוני אלוהיך, ללכת בדרכיו, ולשמור מצוותיו וחוקותיו ומשפטיו, וחיית ורבית, וברכך אדוני אלוהיך, בארץ אשר אתה בא שמה לרשתה. The translation goes like that. It is not in the heavens that you should say, who among us can go up to the heaven and get it for us and impart it to us, that we may observe it. Neither is it beyond the sea that you should say, who among us can cross to the other side of the sea and get it for us and impart it to us, that we may observe it. No, the thing is very close to you, in your mouth and in your heart to observe it. See, I set before you this day life and prosperity, death and adversity. For I command you this day to love Adonai your God, to walk in God's ways, and to keep God's commandments, God's laws, and God's rules, that you may thrive and increase, and that Adonai your God may bless you in the land which you are about to invade and occupy. What a beautiful message. Adonai is setting the covenant with Moses and the people of Israel. And Adonai is saying to the people, don't worry about those teachings, those commandments. It's not in heaven. It's not across the sea. You don't have to go all the way like Moses did on top of Mount Sinai and get close to the heaven. You don't have to cross the Sea of Reeds again and again in order to do that. It's in your mouth. It's in your heart. And that also teaches us that as time goes, and as we are farther and farther away from the covenant, and new things arise, and we don't know the answer, it's not about going across the sea to some expert in some other country. It's not looking for a prophet that will bring the message of what to do from Adonai our God. It's our ability and our responsibility to do what is right and what is good in our eyes and in the eyes of Adonai our God. And then Adonai is saying to us, you see, if you do all of that, then you would have life and good and prosperity in your land. Adonai is giving us the freedom of choice to choose to do right or to choose not to obey, and hopefully we choose to stick to those traditions, to these commandments, because it's in our mouth and it's in our heart. It's our responsibility and it's our ability to choose to fulfill this covenant. And we don't need no expert, no prophet, no rabbi in order to tell us what is the right thing in the eyes of God and in the eyes of the community and in the eyes of ourselves when we look at ourselves in the mirror. What a great optimistic message as we're about to enter a new year, hopefully a good and a healthy year to all of us. Let's say the blessing after reading from the Torah. We're back to page 250 in our